Good morning. Welcome to GrainTV. It's Thursday, November 3rd. I'm Kevin McNew, and on my right, the ever-nimble Cody Bills. Cody, what's driving the markets this morning?
Well, I think one thing that's interesting is Bernanke did speak yesterday. Now, he came out with warning of significant downside risk. He said mainly due to the European Union. Now, we know of this big piece of news out there, and of course, we're watching it very closely. So that was no big surprise. Interesting thing enough, though, he did lower growth forecast to 2.5% for 2012-2013 from 3.3%. Those were the lower side of the estimates. Of course, he also lowered the economic outlook, the employment outlook from to 7.8 from 8.5. So those are two bad things, for the bulls.
Right.
And of course, he voted to stay the course. No big news on any sort of quantitative easing or economic stimulus that he would be doing. But he did mention, he said we need to do everything in our power to help this economy out. So it might be on the table down the road, but nothing that we've seen as of yet.
Exactly. Hey, let's take a look at the market trading this morning. We're open sharply higher. At least in the case of beans, we had a nice overnight session. Beans are up 16, corn up 5. It was a pretty sleepy night last night for the most part, but there was some underlying strength there. Cody, what did you see anything different?
No, I mean I think it's a pretty sleepy trade. It seems to be awfully volatile. We have big moves up at the end of the day and big moves down at the end of the day.
Right.
Bottom line here, we maintain a range-bound trade going into the report on Wednesday. And I don't see that changing a whole lot at all until we get numbers out of the USDA that maybe firm up some of these yield estimates.
Exactly. Hey, when we come back, we're going to talk about exports. We're going to talk about the WASDE report and give you some analyst estimates. Welcome back. Cody, we've got some WASDE numbers, some USDA numbers coming out next week. What are the analysts saying ahead of that?
Well, I think the projections right now yield in between 147.8 and 149.5. Informa, really the big estimate, they maintained an unchanged level at around 149.5. So the bottom line here is it's starting to feel a little bit like the USDA actually could raise their yield estimates, and I don't think the market was really anticipating that in the past. So it's starting to feel more and more like there could be a little bit of downward pressure on prices
as a result of bigger supplies coming online.
Exactly.
Hey, on the demand side, obviously we're going to focus on demand now that production is sort of history. Export sales this week, again, a fairly mediocre report from USDA. Soybeans and wheat failed to meet analyst expectations. Soybeans coming in at a dismal 210,000 metric tons, wheat at 320,000 metric tons. Corn was on the high end of expectations, but nowhere near the stellar numbers we'd seen, especially when China was a buyer 3 or 4 weeks ago. Cody, these numbers continue to sort of lag the market, drag down the market, I think. When I look at them in more detail and I look at where we're standing, corn, overall is fairly bullish. There's some positive things about the corn export numbers, not so much this week's report, but overall we have China waiting in the wings maybe to be buying upwards of 5 million metric tons for the year. USDA has them penciled in at 2 million metric tons. They've already booked at 1.5 million metric tons. we know we have some competition, though, don't we?
Yeah, we do. I mean, I think that's one of the things that's going to weigh on us going forward. An interesting thing, though, is one of the analysts actually, or one of the major forecasts out there, lowered ending stocks due to an expected increase in export sales. They're saying that the USDA is actually being a little bit conservative here. They're expecting a 50 million bushel increase for corn out of USDA estimates. Do you think that that's possible? We know where we stand. We're not doing so well.
Right.
Do you think it's possible?
I think it's certainly possible. Export sales are good. We've got 50% of the exports that USDA's projected. We've got that booked already. Half of that is booked already. Normally this time of year we book about 37%. That's a good number. Soybeans, it's dismal. It's disappointing. We're well behind what USDA has got penciled in paper right now. So, yeah, I could see USDA coming in 50 million bushels higher on corn. Soybeans, not so much. I think we, if anything, have to go lower. The thing that scares me about corn, though, is will China play with the U.S.? The other thing is Argentina is courting them aggressively right now. They're trying to sign a bilateral trade agreement that opens up their exports to China and gives them more access to that corn market for feeding China. So, will we get the business?
Yeah, I'm concerned that there is increased competition out there. We mentioned this last week, but Ukraine sold to Japan, sold to Taiwan. We've seen increased export activity relative to this time of year out of the EU.
Right.
So the bottom line, I'm worried about the competitiveness right now, and I'm worried if prices go higher than 650, will we actually see any kind of export sales increase? I'd be a little skeptical of that.
Right. Cody, your call. We're going to continue to be range bound between now and next Wednesday's report.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think that, yes, we're going to probably be range bound, but I wouldn't be surprised if we popped a little bit up, out of that range going into the report on some speculative positions. But, I don't know. It's choppy trade. It's nothing that I would take a position on.
Right.
And it's certainly this speculation going into the report. I wouldn't recommend producers to speculate or go Texas hedge on. I think that if anything, you're going to want to try and protect to the downside because I think that there is a significant risk there for producers out there.
Yeah. From my standpoint, I think that's especially true in the case of beans and wheat. Beans and wheat are the negative factors right now. Corn has some bullish enthusiasm because of the China wild card, but beans and wheat, we got nothing to hold our hats on to. I would be protecting beans and wheat a little more aggressively right now.
That sounds fair enough.
Hey, thanks for joining us. We'll see you on Friday for the market wrap-up. Have a great day.